Before I kick off, obviously, just the usual disclaimer on behalf of Simon and myself. We're going to talk about some things tonight. They are of a general nature, so if you want some more information, please contact your advisor or contact one of the advisors at Hewisons. Now, the agenda. So Simon and I have decided just to keep it simple as best we can and split it up into two parts. The first being a starting point for wealth creation for young people, laying a foundation. And once we move past that, we're going into the second part, which is how to build your empire. And I emphasise the word your because your goals and aspirations are very unique to you. They're going to be very unique to, or very different to the people that are sitting next to you. So you need to keep focusing on perhaps not what everyone else is doing, but what you want to do to achieve your objectives. So I'm going to kick us off now. In terms of the theme of the night, keeping it on that professional level, what I'd like you to do, and we're going to talk about things like the basics, like things like goal setting and budgeting and so forth, and it can be a little bit boring, but I'd really like you to think of it, or to think about your personal finances as if it were a business. Because as you can imagine, when a business starts out in its life, it starts out to make a profit. It's not there to make a loss. And neither should you in terms of the way you manage your personal finances. Just an interesting point, we spend 1/3 of our lives working and we spend 1/3 of our lives sleeping. And generally speaking, most of you would agree that we go to bed nice and early, get enough sleep so we can wake up energised and enthusiastic about the work we're going to carry out. So putting it that way, 2/3 of our lives are geared towards our professional being. And so, of course, when you think about working, a show of hands here, who works because they just purely for the enjoyment of it? I knew there was going to be one, and that's fine. And two, thanks boss at the back, very good. But the reality is we work to live. We work to pay the bills so that we can enjoy the things that make us happy. And so with that, it then comes back to that issue of setting the right goals and objectives. The idea is that at the end of the day, we've got enough surplus income left over to achieve whatever those goals and objectives are. Bring it back to, I guess, a business sense, and where do we go from here as a starting point. If you really break it down, whether it be a business or whether it be your personal finances, it's about the amount of money coming in versus the amount of money going out, and how you go about tracking that. Now, using that seemingly ugly word, a budget, that is essentially what a budget is. You've got your non-discretionary spend. They're the things that you have to pay for to survive. Food on the table, clothes on the back, roof over the head, and then you've got your discretionary items, which is the money you choose to spend. Now, obviously, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that once you've done the money in versus money out, that you're in profit territory, just like a business. And of course, this should be based back and brought back to your goals and objectives. If your objective is a $60,000 motor vehicle purchase in 2 years' time, and you run the budget and you find that you've got a savings capacity of $15,000 a year, then you're going to fall short. So, and I think it's very important to consider when you're looking at, a lot of people they'll run a budget and they'll say, right, well, this is the amount of money I've got coming in, this is the amount of money I've got going out, and what's left over is just what's left over, and I'll try and base some goals and objectives around what I've got left. The other school of thought is to say, no, hang on a second. As we said before, we work to enjoy ourselves, so what is it going to take for us to really enjoy our lives? So you start with a goal or an objective, and whatever that might cost, and then you work backwards and you say, right, well, what do I need? How do I need to control my spending to make sure I can get where I want to go? With that, I'll pass over to Simon, who can carry on.
Okay, so Andrew's talked about laying a foundation and why you should put in place a budget. I'm going to talk about how you should budget, some tips. A great website that the Australian government actually put in place is called moneysmart.gov.au. So in your own time, have a look over this site. It's got some fantastic tips, particularly for young people when you're starting out with your finances, but it also covers different stages in your life, and such as managing money, credit, superannuation of course, and as well as investing. And there's some really good information there, so I encourage you to have a look at that in your own time. When you've got a budget, you can really make it as easy or as complex as you want it to be. You can go the old school method of getting the old notepad and pen and writing down each expense as it happens, or utilising a bit of modern technology and perhaps an app on your phone. And a simple search on the App Store shows for budgeting, there's about 538 different apps out there. So there's literally hundreds of apps out there to help with budgeting and finances and the like. And the good thing is a lot of them are free. So spend some time, have a look through the different apps, and there's bound to be one out there that will fit your needs. One of the ones I'm going to highlight is called Track My Spend, which is again from the MoneySmart website that I said the Australian government put together. And as you can see here on the screenshot, you essentially record down each expense as it happens: train tickets, lunch, going to the gym, whatever the case may be. And by doing that over a period of time, a week, a month, maybe even 3 months, you gain a really accurate idea of where your money's going, which is great to know, but what do you do with that information? What I do personally, and I know a lot of the other guys here do, is rather than operating finances from one account, say where your income comes, and then you go out on a Friday night, spend half your money on a boozy night, and then you've got to pay the electricity bill and there's nothing really left over. The first thing to do is pay yourself first. And what I mean by that is set your goals. It might be a home deposit, travel, or a new car. Set your goals, set your time frame, and from there you can work back and say, well, I want to go overseas on a holiday in 2 years' time, it's going to cost me 10 grand. I need to save $100 a week towards that. Make sure you're putting $100 away for that. Of course, you want to have enough money going into your bills account so you've got enough to pay the electricity and the water and the registration on your car. And then really what's left over is your discretionary spend. So that will dictate how often you can go out for dinner, how often you can go out with the boys or the girls on a Friday, Saturday night. It's just, I guess, the reverse of what a lot of people do, where they'll just work on the discretionary spending, and whatever's left over at the end of the month, well, then that's the savings. If you're operating a budget that way, you're really not going to be achieving your goals. All right, I'll hand it back to Andrew just to talk about, once you've got that surplus there, what can you do with it?